author Ariela Gross. Who is Alexina Morrison?
Alexina Morrison was a slave in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, who in 1857 ran away from her master, and she ran to the county jail where she convinced the jailer that she was a white woman who had been wrongly kidnapped into slavery and that she should be set free. And he believed her. He said she had blue eyes and flaxen hair. He took her home to live with his family. She slept in bed with his daughter. He took her to balls, introduced her into white society. And she so won over the community that by the time her master came to file his answer to her freedom suit in the court, he said he was surrounded by a lawless mob and he feared for his life. And her lawsuit went through 3 trials in the local court.
What was her lawsuit about?
She was suing for her freedom on the basis of whiteness. And so it was a trial that hinged on the question of whether she was black or white. And although the statute in Louisiana said that should be decided by the degree of African blood in her veins, it was really decided on the basis of her performance. How did she behave? Whom did she associate with? What was her reputation? Was she pure and virtuous as they believed white women, only a white woman could be? And that's how she managed to convince 3 juries, successive juries, that in fact she deserved to be free. And that's the subject of my new book.
What Blood Won't Tell is the title of the book. Where did you find that story?
I found it in the archives of the Louisiana Supreme Court, which are at the University of New Orleans, and I studied actually the records of trials like this one, racial identity trials from the beginning of the Republic through into the mid and late 20th century, actually, which are buried in county courthouses and archives all over the country.
And why did you study those trial transcripts?
They seem to me to present this unique window onto the history of race and racism in the U.S. I think we tend to think of race as a fact of nature, something that inheres in your blood, and that's actually where I get my title, What Blood Won't Tell, because of the amazing persistence of that notion that blood will tell, and that race is a matter of common sense, something we know when we see. And I find through the study of these trials that, in fact, race was something that we had to make every day and that law contributed to making. And that's the history I tell.
Are there any general conclusions that you can draw from those transcripts?
What interested me in particular was a certain kind of circularity you discover, particularly in cases involving men, where the evidence of performance was about performing the acts of citizenship. So in order to claim freedom and rights, you have to prove you're white. But in order to show that you were white, you had to show that you had acted like a citizen, that you'd voted and sat on juries, mustered in the militia. So the cases drew this really strong connection between whiteness and citizenship. And that's really what I trace over into the 20th century, is the way we have defined citizenship through whiteness. And that's, I think, the legacy today that we need to break.
Are there more of these cases than you thought there would be?
Yes, I started with cases like Alexina in antebellum America, and I was very surprised to find that they continue to be litigated after the Civil War because we continue to classify people according to race. They are cases about the right to attend schools, the right to marry the person whom you want to marry, the right to property, marriage, all of these voting, all of these rights that have been left only to white people. It was also surprising to me to discover how fraught the issues of Native identity and the identity of immigrants to the United States continue to be well into the 20th century. So it was a learning experience for me as well.
What about affirmative action cases? Any of these cases in this book?
I take the story really through to the civil rights movement and the cases that are about establishing and maintaining a racial hierarchy. I do talk in the epilogue about what we can do to dismantle that hierarchy, because one of the lessons some people draw from this history is we should end all classification, including programs of racial remediation like affirmative action. And the lessons I draw are actually more about that connection that has been drawn through these cases of whiteness and citizenship and how we break that, which I don't think can be done without acknowledging race today and trying to remedy its effects.
What's your day job?
I'm a law professor at the University of Southern California. I also teach in the history department.
Is this your first book?
It's my second book. I wrote a book about law and slavery called Double Character, published in 2000.
What Blood Won't Tell. The author is Ariela Gross.